Assalamu alaikum everybody, and a huge welcome to lesson 2 in this free Arabic script course. My name is Sam and I'm your Arabic teacher from ArabicwithSam.com, helping you read and write the Arabic language with confidence in just 14 lessons. That's only 2 weeks if you do one of these lessons a day. So just 10 minutes a day out of your time and I can get you reading and writing Arabic in 2 weeks. So let's just begin by letting me introduce you to the 2 new concepts that we're going to be learning in this lesson. So firstly, the thing just to mention to you is that when I showed you this table, the little sort of decorations that we put on top or underneath letters, they're known as harakat. So I'm going to refer to them as harakat throughout the rest of this lesson, and their names for the a sound is fatha, the I sound is kasra, and the U sound is dhamma. Throughout this course I'll do my very best. When I mention them I'll have them up as well, so you'll kind of infer throughout the lesson anyway, so hopefully you'll kind of pick it up as we go along. But to add to that table, we're going to add 2 new things. So I want to introduce you to shadda. The role of shadda is to double the sound of the consonant. So for example, if we took one of the letters we did last lesson, we took the sound ba. If we have a shadda on it, it would be ba. We just hold it for twice as long. So you just double the sound. It's just a way of doubling a consonant. So we'd have ba or ta or tha. Yeah, it just means that you hold it for twice as long as what you normally would. So we're going to add that into the kind of the columns, into the table that I've been demonstrating letters with you. So the next one is a sort of haraka that really a lot of my students point out that it doesn't really even need to exist. It's a sukoon. And the thing that a sukoon does, it just means that there's no vowel on it. So if you were to put a sukoon on a ba, it would just be p. Or if you were to put a sukoon on a ta, it's just t. Or if you were to put a sukoon on a tha, it would just be th. So there's no vowel on that letter at all. But if you were to write nothing, you would assume that there was nothing. But just to make sure that you know that it's definitely no vowel pronounced on it, then we put a sukoon on these letters as well. So we're going to take shadda and we're going to add it to our table. We're not going to add sukoon because it's not really a vowel, so we don't really need to add it to the vowel possibilities, but I'm going to be using it throughout the rest of the course, and especially in the 10 words that we read at the end of every lesson, you'll be seeing sukoons and all of these other possibilities in it. Next up in the real meat of the lesson that I want to introduce you to are the actual 3 new letters that we're going to be learning. So if we run through what we're up to so far, we've done elif, we've done ba, ta, tha, and then in this lesson we're going to be doing jeem, ha, kha. So let's begin the main meat of this lesson by talking about jeem. Always, as I said, we're going to run through from the beginning. We have elif, ba, ta, tha, and then jeem. So I want to show you how it looks like when it's alone, beginning, middle, and end. I'm going to put the little table there so you can have a look at it. And then afterwards, once I've blabbered on a little bit and let you take it in, or you can pause the video now so you can take it in. If you have the workbook, then obviously you'll be able to see it in front of you. At the very back of the workbook that you can get on Amazon, obviously I'll link the workbook in the description, I'll always do that. At the back of it is an appendix with all of this whole table written out as well with examples, so a lot of you might want to go and get hold of that. But anyways, what I want to do now is take jeem and put it into our table so you can see it with all of its vowel possibilities. So if we run along them, obviously we always go from right to left, just the way that we read Arabic, and we'll go from the top to the bottom. As you can see now, I've included 2 extra rows that will show you how we use shadda with each of the vowels respectively. So if we run through them right to left along the top, we'll start with ja, ji, ju, and then on to the next row. Obviously this one we're using shadda, so we're going to say ja, ji, ju. Okay, so now into the next column we have the long vowels, so we're going to be saying ja, ji, ju. And now obviously we're back to some more shadda options, obviously, but now this time we're going to be using the doubled vowels. We'll read them first without the shadda. We'll read them first as we just did in the last lessons when we learnt about these doubled vowels. That was a thing that we called tenween. So if we run through them without the shadda first of all, and then on the last column, as you can see, we have shadda. So if we begin, we have jan, jin, jun. And now onto the last one of the rows, obviously always reading them right to left. Now we're using the letter jeem with a shadda and a tenween. So this is what it sounds like. Jan, jin, jun. As you can see, it's quite clear sort of how the shedda is pronounced, but we'll make it clear, obviously, especially at the end of the lesson when we go over 10 new words and I give you an opportunity to read those out, and then you'll hear me read them. You'll get a bit more of a rounded understanding of actually what shedda does. But now what I want to do is show you what they look like joined up, really, because that's what they look like in real life words. So I want to demonstrate with the short vowels. First of all, we'll join up 3 Jeems together, so you can see actually what they look like. And reading from right to left, we have ja, ji, ju. And I'm also going to add in another alternative now where I joined them together by using shedda as well. Bear in mind, these aren't real words. What I'm showing you right now, I'm just using these words to demonstrate what they actually sound like. So with this one, where we have the sheddas, it will be ja, ji, ju. Okay, and if we move on with the long vowels, obviously we practiced this with ber, te and the in the last lesson, but with the long vowels we have ja, ji, ju. If that were a real word, that's how it would be read. So afterwards, when we come on to tenween, it's best for us to take a word actually from the real Arabic language to demonstrate this, because you can't have tenween in the beginning or the middle of words, so it's best for us to take a word from the actual Arabic language, and also it gives you an opportunity to hear a little bit of vocabulary that might be useful for you. So I just want to take the word taj, because obviously taj means a crown. A little bit of cultural knowledge for you to know is that there's a very, very famous dictionary known as Taj al-Arus, and it's like between 20 and 30 volumes. It's huge, enormous Arabic language dictionary. It's sort of the big brother of a very, very well-known dictionary called Lisan al-Arab as well, but a taj means a crown or a tiara or something like that. So Taj al-Arus is like the bride's crown or the bride's tiara. Yeah, so that's the word taj meaning a crown. So I'm going to demonstrate with the word taj. So we have tajan, tajin, and lastly tajun. But if I wanted to take a word to demonstrate what it's like with a shedda on the end with a tenween, we're going to use the word hajj. Hajj, lots of you know, those of you who are Muslims among you, you'll know what the Hajj pilgrimage is, when the Muslims, it's one of the pillars of Islam, that the Muslims make pilgrimage to Mecca during the Hajj period and perform the Hajj at one time in your life, if you're able to, if you have the means to and the health to. So we'll demonstrate this concept of tenween with shedda at the end with the word hajj. So let's begin with tenween fatha. So hajjan, hajjin, hajjun. So next we're moving on to perhaps the first letter in the alphabet we've done so far that we actually don't have in English. It's a sound that we actually don't have in English. So far we've had, a, which we have in English, ba, ta, and the. We have those sounds in English. And even the longer vowels we've done, like oo and e, we have those in English too. And even like doubled letters as well, we have in English too. So, the sound that a shedda generates isn't so alien to us. But this sound that we have next, so if we read through the alphabet and then we'll come to it. So we had alif, ba, ta, the, jeem, and now we have ha. So ha is a sound that when I'm teaching the kids, I often get them to try to think back to when it was last winter, and when they sort of breathe on the window and they go and then they kind of write in the condensation on it, like because when we do that, we're trying to make our hairs a little bit more breathy, and we go sort of like, even English speakers are probably familiar with that, and I usually try to do it when their parents aren't around so they don't get into trouble, but yeah, so that's the letter ha. So obviously we'll have it up and I'll introduce you to its beginning, its middle, and its end. And the most important thing really to bear in mind with these, like these words that have like a tail hanging underneath, like with the jeem we saw that has its tail underneath, there's ha that has a tail underneath. When it's in its beginning and its middle, you just cut off that tail. Like whenever you need to join it something else afterwards, you just cut off the tail and join it up. I have another video where I give a bit more advice on how to join up letters properly. I'll link that in the description too. Yes, that'd be quite helpful for some tips for you guys to actually join up your letters nicely. So if we take our ha and we put it in that table again, like we did last time with the jeem. So if we have a look at what ha looks like in that table, and we'll read along the top, obviously going through the short vowels first, we have ha, he, hu. And then if we come into the next row, and obviously we're demonstrating the use of the shedda in this one, so we're going to say ha, he, hu. And then if we go to the next row down, well, obviously in this one we're demonstrating these longer vowel sounds. So we can see ha, the next one, he, and the next one, hu. Let's go down into the next row. Obviously in this one we're demonstrating tenween, it's when we have these two doubled fatha, doubled kasra, or doubled dhamma. And we say han, hin, hun. And then the next row down, obviously we're demonstrating with the shedda and the tenween. We'd have han, hin, hun. If we bring the camera back to me now, I'd just like to demonstrate what it looks like when they're joined up. If we were to take each of those columns and we were to take one of the horizontal rows and we were to squish them together, so they're joined up, so you see the beginning, middle and end just put together, like that one, they're actually joined up in a word. So we'll demonstrate it first with the short vowels here. So obviously we have ha, hey, ho. So the word would just be read ha, hey, ho. That's not a real word, but it's just to demonstrate what the letters look like when they're joined up and how these different vowel possibilities appear on it. So we had ha, he, ho. The next one we're going to be demonstrating what it looks like with the shedda, with the single vowels. So if we have it up, obviously it looks like this. We'd have ha, he, ho. You can just notice how the sound is just sort of doubled. Ha, he, ho. And then next up, obviously, we demonstrate with the longer vowel sounds as well. We have ha, he, ho. Like this, joined up in a word together. And then obviously when we come on to tenween, just like I demonstrated with the other words before, we need to take a real word from the real Arabic language to demonstrate this. And obviously it'll help you build your vocabulary as well, so it's useful to do too. So if we demonstrate just with a normal ha on the end, maybe we'd want to take the word rihun, rihun, meaning the wind. So we'd say rihan, rihin, rihun. The next example where we demonstrate the letter ha on the end and with a shedda. So we're doing like tenween and with shedda. This word took me a little while to find. I couldn't think of any examples off the top of my head using ha at the end with a shedda and using the words we've already done. You know, this course is deliberately sort of accumulative. Like the course will never demand you to know anything that we haven't already learned in previous lessons or in this lesson. So it was quite hard to find one, but I did in the end. So this word bah, you know, we get this word buhun. Buhun. So the verb baha means to be horse, not to be a horse. It means to be a horse with an a in the word, meaning like a husky, like sort of talking about your voice being husky. So you know, there's different words that come from it, but we have the word buhun, which is an actual word in the Arabic language, even though it's quite weird, but it's still a word in the Arabic language. It still works, so we still demonstrate with it. So if we run through the shedda with the double vowel sounds as well, starting with the a, obviously we'll have buhan, buhin, and lastly buhun. So finally we come on to our last of the three letters that we've covered this lesson. Obviously we'll run through them all to get to this letter. So we go alif, ba, ta, tha, jeem, ha, and kha. Obviously you can take a look at it, take a look at what it looks like, beginning, middle, end, and alone. Likewise, like I said with the last one, all we're doing is we're cutting off the tail and then joining up if it joins up to another word. Obviously if the letter's on its own or it's on the end of the word, doesn't need to join to another letter, so you don't need to do that. So this is the second of the sounds that actually have a really different, you know, pronunciation to anything we're used to in English. So if you're familiar with other languages, obviously I can tell you it's pretty much the same sound as the J in Spanish. I can tell you that it's just like a KH in Somali as well. So it exists in other languages, and it's just a kha sound, a kha sound. So it's a little bit further back in your throat. The sound kha, just practice it a little bit. Like I think I said in the introduction video, it's good to kind of find a space where you can get away with making strange sounds with your face. You know, if you drive, then you can practice them in the car, or if you live by yourself, even better, you can practice them, or if you live in student halls, then you can do that too. That's what I had to do. Yeah, so with these sounds are a little bit more alien to us, we need to take a bit of a time to train our mouths and our throat to sort of get used to it. But anyway, that's the letter kha. So what we'll do now is let's take it and let's put it into our table that we've done before to demonstrate it with all the different vowel possibilities. So if we read along the top column, like we always do, we'll go from right to left, and we'll be saying kha, khi, khu. And then in the next column underneath, we'll be saying, obviously, and this time we're demonstrating the shedda as well, of course. So we're saying kha, khi, khu. And then if we demonstrate with the long vowels in this middle column here, middle row even, sorry, we'll say kha, khi, khu. And then if we move into the last two rows, obviously this time we're demonstrating with the, you know, the tenween, the double fatha, double kasra, double dhamma. So we'll say khan, khin, khun. And then this time, I sort of pronounced it, you know, almost like it was with a shedda in the last one actually, but this time we're definitely pronouncing it with a shedda, where we're doubling the sound, so it's going to be khan, khin, khun. So if we bring the camera back to me, obviously I'll just take this last few minutes to demonstrate what it actually looks like when it's joined together. So like we always do, the short vowels, push them together, show what it looks like beginning, middle and end, and joint up together. So we'd have with the sound kha, we'd have kha, khi, khu, is what it would look like just with these short vowels. But if we were to take it with the sheddas as well on them to double the sound of the consonants, it would be kha, khi, khu. Okay, and then if we come into the next example, when we're just using the long vowels, like we've been using since lesson 1, it would be kha, khi, khu. So just as we've done in previous lessons to demonstrate with the tenween, I'm going to take some words from the Arabic language. So to demonstrate it without the shedda, first of all, to demonstrate tenween on the end, we're going to use the word khukhun, which means a peach. Yeah, a peach, khukhun. I sometimes get it mixed up with the word for an apricot, which is mishmash, but khukh means a peach anyway. So if we start off with, obviously we'll go through the vowels like a, I, u. That's the way we normally try to order them. So if we go khukhan, khukhin, and lastly, khukhun. And then for the last example, obviously, as I mentioned with the last letter, it can be quite hard to find words that have like an everyday use in them. But I've scoured the dictionary, like I've asked my Arabic language, my Arabic language mentors and stuff too, and we've found a word that is a bit unusual, but it still works for it. So we're going to use the word bukhun. There is a verb bakha, which means to sort of snore. I've not really heard the word in speaking Arabic in an everyday context, but like it is a word that's in the dictionary, so it still counts. So we'll demonstrate with the word bukh. So to start with the a sound, it's bukhan, next bukhin, and then next bukhun. So now we've run through all of the letters from the very beginning of the alphabet all the way up to where we are now. So we did alif, ba, ta, tha, jeem, ha, and kha. So we've run through all of those. We've introduced to you in this lesson what the little circle is, the sukoon is, with no vowel at all. And we've added in the shedda into our table. So we should have sort of 5 different vowel possibilities. That is all of them. Now, there's only one more little haraka thing to come later, but that's pretty much everything for you. So we're going to go over 10 words that we're going to read together. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to give you 10 seconds or so to sort of think about it, try to say it yourself, and then I'll give you the answer at the end of it too. So, so we can crack on with that, and then at the end, we'll round off the video and we'll say goodbye. Hajjan. بحث. خبيث. حوت. تاج. خوخ. حب. حبيبي. حب. تحت. Thank you all so much for joining me in this free course on Arabic script, and a huge congratulations for getting this far. Not everybody does, so if you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you did, don't forget to hit the like button and the share button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and just hit the bell as well to make sure you get notifications. And I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be doing dal, dhal, ra, and zay. If you want any more information about myself or what I do, then head over to my website at www.arabicwithsam.com. If you liked how I used the appearances of the Arabic letters to help you remember their shapes, then check out my book on Amazon and it will really help this course and really help my channel. But that's not the only way that you can help this channel. This is a free course and it will be free until YouTube dies one day. But to support my work, and if you want to get involved in my channel and everything else that I do in some way, you can come on board on Patreon and you can support me on a monthly basis.